Live. Hi, folks. I think we are live. Can you hear us okay? So who've we got in the chat? I'm gonna just get up the YouTubes because I can't watch the chat on StreamYard. Like I'm watching this. I'm watching the screen on StreamYard, but I'm watching the chat on YouTube.
Right. Yeah.
So, just gonna turn my emails off. Let's get the practicalities out of the way and turn that off. We are ready, guys. Hi. So I'm here with Tommy Kelly, and this has been a long time in the making. So just to kind of refresh people's memories, that I challenged Tommy to come on my stream to talk about veganism and anti-veganism and the whole like kind of lot of shit that's been going on. And we're here. So you had lots of work and things on, and then you weren't well. We did schedule this for last week, and then you weren't well. So we are here. So great. And we've got quite a few people in the house already. So let's just have a look through the chats. We've got Terry. We've got I'm rubbish at pronouncing names. We've got Muddy Paws. We've got Susie, James, AJ, Anti-Vegan Nonsense, Chris, Michael, Vegan Gays, Volhan. We've got any more? Have we got any more? I think that's it for now. But hello, everyone. Okay, so before we start chatting, can I just please implore everybody in the chat to keep it polite. We've had a chat, Tommy and I have had a chat off stream. So there's nothing off limits in terms of what we are going to talk about. I've got Tommy for around an hour, and then I'll probably stay on for a little bit longer to answer any kind of questions and just have a general chat and tell you what I've been kind of getting up to. So I'm not streamed for a week. So if you've got any questions, then by all means ask them. I'm quite rubbish at keeping up with the chat once I'm talking. If you've got a question that you really want me to ask Tommy, then by all means do so. You're probably better super chatting. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You know, a couple of quid will allow you to comment. So if you've got an urgent question that you want me to put to Tommy, then do it via super chat. Okay, Tommy. So for those of you who don't know you, and I can't believe that, anybody watching this wouldn't know you, but just want to kind of tell the stream a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your story. That'd be all right?
Well, obviously I was vegan for like 4 years. I used to be the activist for the Save movement and the vegan outreach, and obviously Anonymous for the Voiceless as well. I actually organised that here in Ayrshire, Scotland. I've had an eating disorder for quite a while in the past that obviously started with the loss of my mum and then relapses with my wife's ovarian cancer and miscarriages, then obviously the loss of my dad. So it's been quite a thing that was going for quite a while. I've been in recovery for quite a few years now, actually. I do things like obviously media work, obviously in the eating disorder space, and I do eating disorder recovery coaching as well.
Yeah, because you were just saying before we went live that you've got some TV interviews coming up. So I'm on. That's good.
BBC Breakfast TV tomorrow at 7 a.m. So it should be good. Talking about Freddie Flintoff. No, about myself though, but
brilliant. So I'll try and tune in as I'm getting ready for work. So if you're in the UK, set your alarm for 7 a.m. and we'll have a see what Tommy's chatting about with his eating disorder work. So you're an advocate for an eating disorder charity, is that right?
Yeah, a few charities, a few mental health charities, and an eating disorder charity as well. And I do like eating disorder recovery coaching with some people as well and things like that.
Good stuff. Bev Llewellyn has super chatted £1.99 and says, Tommy, please stop saying obviously.
What can I say? It's a Scottish thing. It must be. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to
it. Well, I get accused of saying okay. I just go okay. And when I've been because I teach at a university, when I've like been assessed you know, I've had like peer review and stuff like that for my teaching. They say, can you just say okay a little bit less? Because, you know, it just gets a little bit annoying. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Anyway, so you were, and you kind of still are well known in the vegan community. And we'll come on to the ex-vegan journey shortly. But, you know, because you were such a big advocate, you were, like you say, active in the Save movement, Anonymous for the Voiceless. And then you had some health issues and you gave up veganism. So it must have been, trying to put myself in that position is difficult because I don't have an eating disorder. I've never had an eating disorder. Got a family member who had bulimia and is now kind of in recovery from that. So I have some understanding of eating disorders, but I can't empathize from a personal perspective. But I kind of think it must have been devastating to have to kind of, you know, challenge your ethics and give up on veganism. Would I be right in saying that, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It did take me quite a long while to actually accept what they were actually saying, because for about the first 2.5 years, I was doing really, really well. I was gaining weight constantly. My health was really, really good. I wasn't having any problems. Then I got to about the 3rd year. Then I started to suffer things like obviously a lot of digestive issues. I was getting more and more brain fog, memory loss. Actually, at one point, my wife actually thought I had a stroke because my face was all drooping and I was slurring my speech, and I couldn't understand why she wasn't understanding what I was saying. And from there, I was suffering things like dental issues. Like I say, the gut issues were the main problem. That I was suffering like constant going to the toilet up to 16 times a day. Then my eating disorder team, obviously, I was like seeing them like every 6 months basically, because they didn't really see a point actually seeing me so much because I was doing really, really well. But the dietitian actually stepped in and she said, well, I think we need to try and at least ask you to go vegetarian. She says, but it's up to you. She says, I can't force you to do that. She says, you can go away from here and you can totally disregard what I'm saying to you. She says, but at the same time, you know that if your health declines, you'll probably end up in the hospital. And she says, do you really want that? So I said, look, I don't think I could even do vegetarian. So it took me roughly to about from August to about September 2019 to actually even do things like eggs and things. And that was a struggle because I really kind of struggled with that. Obviously, knowing about everything that I'd known about the kind of factory farming side of things. And obviously, I've never been able to go to like things like beef and that because I simply wouldn't, because I've worked in a slaughterhouse. I've seen that. So I wouldn't want to support like factory farming or anything like that. And I think that myself gave me a different perspective and things. So now I try to kind of balance things on ethics and obviously health as well.
It must be a really difficult balance. And I do, when you first kind of went public with, you know, your ex-vegan kind of story, you were amongst quite a few people. There was quite a few people who were well known within the vegan community, or at least within the plant-based community, not so much in terms of the, you know, the ethical vegan side. You know, we'd had all of that, the really big YouTubers like Raw Alignment, Raw Varna, all of those had kind of come out as ex-vegan before you. And then there was Jacko Wacko. I think he was just before you, or maybe just around the same time as you. So when kind of you piled in with it as well, it was, I think, one of those things that just kind of blew up a little bit. And I remember, just kind of a little personal story, I remember having a live stream with Rebecca Brooks. She was Rebecca's World. I don't know whether you know Rebecca. And we had a live stream booked for that week that you kind of put your ex-vegan story out, and we were streaming a few days later, and we spoke just before the stream and kind of said, are we going to talk about Tommy? Because we were kind of just expecting, because I do like the anti-vegan, ex-vegan stuff and call out the carnivores, and she does exactly the same. So we were kind of thinking, are we going to get loads of questions about Tommy, and should we answer them? The reason being is that I think certainly I and quite a few others, and I can't obviously speak for everybody when I say this, we were more sympathetic towards you than we were towards any of the other ex-vegans, because you've been struggling with an eating disorder for so long. And certainly, like, I'm a psychologist, and I'm aware that there are many, and like almost like an anti-vegan approach to eating disorder therapies, because we've got to say it, that there are a lot of people with eating disorders who choose to be vegan, who say they're vegan, because they are they're using it as a way to restrict food. You know,
I even said that on my channel, like way back. You can find videos where I said that. Yeah. Like I said, I don't recommend that people in eating disorder recovery go vegan, because a lot of people do tend to use it as a mask for their eating disorder. I've always said that, but like I did say, if you're doing it for ethical reasons, well, that's different, because it gives you a motivation. You're doing it for the animals and not just yourself as well. So there's differences there, and wouldn't it be fair to throw everybody in the same basket?
That's absolutely true, but from the professional's standpoint,
absolutely, yeah,
it's difficult for an eating disorder professional to decipher to make that distinction between somebody who is saying that they're vegan and saying it's for the animals and saying it's because I'm ethical, but actually they're just masking this. You know, they're using it as a mask. They're using it to restrict. And then somebody who is genuinely vegan for the animals, who also happens to have an eating disorder. And I remember watching your eating disorder videos, and I'm probably going back 3 years, and I definitely know that you said that on your channel. It was one of those things that kind of stuck out to me when you went ex-vegan, when you gave up veganism, because it was such a jarring to the way that you'd presented yourself on your channel. And I think that came across quite, and again, I can't speak for anybody else but myself and the handful of people that I've spoken personally about you, and Rebecca would be probably one that I spoke to personally at the time that this was kind of all like beginning. And I think that you did suffer a bad rap in some ways, but like I said, I think it was you kind of came out with your ex-vegan story on the back of a lot of, and it completely coincidental, but on the back of a lot of other people. So there was that oh God, not another one kind of feeling. But like I said, I was kind of sympathetic to you. I remember, sending messages to you on Facebook and communicating with you on Facebook. I don't know whether you kind of remember that, because I kind of thought, well, yeah, Tommy is an ethical guy. He's an activist, and he's had to almost like compromise his ethics because he's unwell. And that's you're not going to kill yourself. You know, if you, let's put an extreme hypothetical scenario on the table, that if you were in a survival situation and your life depended on it, and you were an ethical vegan and you were stranded and you're in a survival situation, and the only thing you've got to eat is some eggs or some little critters that you find, that you can catch and hunt, and rabbits and so on, and you would eat them because you were starving. So to have to give up your ethics and compromise that stance to regain your health, I think that there is a certain amount of sympathy with that. But I think that then it kind of died down, and then you went on Primal Edge Health. Now, I watched that stream, and I don't know whether you're aware, but Tristan gave me a copyright strike after that stream, because I took big chunks of your conversation and I'd kind of put them together in a video with no commentary. I just wanted it to kind of stand as a standalone thing, and I kind of moved it all around and made it flow and whatever. But Tristan didn't like it. I took it down. He revoked the strike, and that was fine. It's that Primal Edge Health interview, though, that really disappointed me. And I've really got to say this. It really jarred with me that I had that sympathy with you, and I didn't make a response video to you, and I had done to others. And I kind of thought, well, you're going to regain your health. And once you've regained your health, then you can perhaps move towards veganism again if you want to. And anyway, that interview, you said some things that were really disappointing, and from my understanding were untrue. And that was the main reason why I kind of challenged you to come on my channel, not to call you out, not to give you any shit or anything like that, but to have this discussion with you. So in particular, I don't know whether anybody in the chat would want to kind of, you know, the dog's opened the curtain, the light's gone dodgy. Tilly, get away, go on. I don't know whether anybody in the chat would disagree with this, but the thing for me was what you said about the activists at vigils, and I think it was the vigils that really kind of stuck out to me, that you were kind of saying that people weren't there for the animals, people were there more for the, I don't know, the social aspect, and there was quite a lot within that conversation. Do you want to, if you kind of think back, do you want to comment on that at all?
Yeah, I 100% stick by that, because I think there's some people that do go there for the right reasons, but there was a lot of people that was turning up just for this, the photos to get on social media. There was even a lot of people that used to turn up to vigils constantly when there was big activists like Joey or Ed, and you would never, ever, ever see them again for the rest of the year. So there is a lot of that there, and I think that's the big problem. Like I say, I think a lot of people get sucked into it because it's trendy, and they don't really realise what it's all about, and that it's all about being in a group of people, being accepted. I think that what I've seen quite a lot, that's definitely a fact.
Okay. Well, you mentioned Joey, and I'm not gonna read the text in full, but Joey actually contacted me after, because me and Joey have met. Me and Joey have done a podcast together, and I did a stream, like a lockdown stream with him as well. I don't know whether you saw either of those. And Joey and I exchanged some messages after that. Because he was quite upset. Now, obviously, I'm not speaking on Joey's behalf. Joey doesn't know, as far as I know, Joey doesn't know that I'm doing the stream. I haven't told him I'm doing this stream. If he's seen the stream like advert, then that's fair enough. But I'm not gonna, you know, he's texted me this in private. I'm not going to read it in full. I'm going to give you the essence of it, because he was upset by what you said about his appearance at a particular vigil, that you said that he was just there for pictures, or he was very standoffish, and he, you know, he wasn't the nice guy that he presents himself.
But what I'll say to that is that wasn't just my opinion. That was everybody that was literally at that vigil. They actually said the same thing. They come up to me afterwards and were actually saying that they didn't think he was the person that he actually portrayed himself to be, because he just didn't speak to them. He ignored them. He went and done his own thing. That was everybody else's interpretation. That wasn't just my interpretation of the situation.
Okay, I'll read you just a little bit of this text, because it's quite long, like he sent several. He just put, when we were supposed, right, he said, it's crazy to me that he cares more about how much I talk to activists at a vigil, where we were supposed to be bearing witness to pigs, not taking selfies and talking. Because, you know, Joey is very serious, isn't he? He's very serious about what he does. He's a very quite a serious guy. Especially when we should have been more concerned with the way I was conducting my animal rights activism. I go to activist events for the animals, and people who donate to me do so because of my animal activism. And then he goes on to say that he was doing like a UK tour at that time. He was doing up to 3 events a day, and he was really tired. He was trying to get as much of that content out as possible. And he admits that he was distracted. He's actually written, I was literally a mess, burning myself out. And I'm a serious guy where the slaughterhouse trucks full of animals driving in. I'm under a huge amount of stress. So he acknowledged that he wasn't you know, in a social mood. And honestly, I've never been to a Save movement vigil, right? But I have been to slaughterhouses. I have seen the trucks. I have done that myself. And the reason why I don't go to organised events, and I'm probably saying this on my channel for the very first time, that I don't like organised events, because I don't want that social aspect. I want to be completely in the moment for those animals. And I would imagine, and again, I can't speak for Joey, and I'm not his sound piece. He doesn't know I'm doing this. I would imagine that if I was in Joey's position, I would have felt exactly the same, that I wouldn't have wanted to socialize. I would have been there. And obviously, like, people like Joey and Ed know that when they're at an event, more people are going to go, more people are wanting to have that kind of photograph taken with him, to say that they've seen him, to say that they've met him. And in my view, and clearly in Joey's view, that's wrong. You're not going there to take selfies. You're going there to bear witness to those animals. So I think from Joey's perspective, you know, I think you've got and the people who were there with you have got to acknowledge that Joey was doing his job. Joey was there to be with those animals in their final moments. That's what he was there to do. He didn't want to socialize. He didn't want to take selfies. So that ties in a little bit to what you've said about people just going there, you know, not for the animals, but going there to say that they've been, to take selfies. And I think
what I would say to that is, as well, like, quite a lot of the time these guys turn up and they take over everything at the vigil. You've got the organisers there, you've got the activists, and I think it demeans the activists that are there every single day, paying out their pocket, actually skinning themselves week to week to turn up to vigils, and they're getting no help from anybody. These guys are getting thousands of pounds a month, and then they're turning up and they're basically telling everybody what to do, taking over the vigil, trying to organise things. I think that's absolutely wrong in all aspects, because that's kind of what's wrong with the vegan act movement. And I will say that 100%, is that these guys are taking out hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds per year, while people are actually skinning themselves to turn up to vigils and things like that. There's a lot that a lot of people don't understand about these big donors and things like that, and it needs to be called out, because even anybody that is vegan needs to admit that.
Well, it's interesting, and I'm actually glad that we're doing this stream today rather than when we originally planned it, because that ties in. That really ties in, and I'm kind of starting to see things perhaps more from your point of view. Having seen what Paul Bashir and his partner Asal, have you? I don't know whether you still keep up with, like, the vegan.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Scene, that they're accusing Joey of wading in on AV's finances, that the donor, that
I would say my interpretation of it is it was bad on both sides, because number one, Joey isn't an accountant. He shouldn't have stepped in and tried that. But number two, they're not been transparent about their funds, and they're not telling people where the money goes. They didn't want to even show any statements and things like that. So there's two sides to this, and the truth lies somewhere in the middle.
And I think you're right in that Joey put him. I think Joey was in a very difficult position, and I haven't spoken to Joey about this, and I know other people have spoken directly to Joey about this, but I think he's in quite a difficult position, because he does have the same donor, and as AV do, and I think there is at the top, you know, at that kind of leadership level, there needs to be much more transparency. And I think AV's activism, if that transparency doesn't arrive, and like you say, that there are thousands of people who are giving up their time to go and do the outreach, go and do the cubes of truth, go and do the vigils. I know the vigils are not AV, but you know, I think the Save movement are also donated to by the same person.
Yeah, they are. Actually, what happens with the Save movement, like every single November each year, you have to apply for like a grant type thing from this donor, and you have to like set up 2 different bank accounts. So it's a Halifax bank account and a direct payment bank account. So what happens is this payment goes into this direct bank account, it sits there for a few days, so the payment's anonymous, and then it travels into your bank account. But you've got to like put forward how you're going to spend the money, as in like maybe like public campaigns, if you're going to do like a vegan outreach stall, things like that, and you've got to break it down and things like that. So we did that for our Ayrshire Save movement, and we got £1,000 for the whole year, which you put that into perspective. But that was to like even help people get to vigils and things.
Yeah, I mean, at a grassroots level, I think people like you who were, you know, doing that activism on the streets, you know, outside slaughterhouses, it probably does feel like you're being shortchanged. It does feel like you're doing that voluntarily, and you're not getting anything from the actual organisation that you're representing. And
well, I wouldn't have wanted anything for the organisation, though. But I wouldn't have wanted anything for the organisation. It was mainly the fact that a lot of people, students and even elderly people, were turning up to vigils. People that was unemployed, they were spending every single penny out their pocket to come to vigils, and even buying things for food stalls and things that we're doing. And you made a good point actually about the EV thing when you were talking about, I think it was in one of your videos before, that you said about like doing a cube with like a food stall to try and entice people in. We actually put that forward, and we were shot down right away because they said that they weren't there about food, and they basically weren't there about health, but you couldn't even have like leaflets sitting on the table because they didn't want that. So that they're stuck in this way, and it's all about their branding and things like that, which I think they're going to have to get out of that eventually.
Yeah. I think they are, because times change. So we've got a super chat from Bev, $4.99. Thank you, Bev. So this is to you, Tommy. Tommy, I support you in your health quest. You know I do. But what fuels your anti-vegan rhetoric, bollocks, and animal harm stance? I wish you well. Oh, come on. Can I just say, let's hold that thought, because I'm going to come on to exactly that in like literally 1 minute. So you've prompted me, Bev, but I'm getting there, honestly. So the last thing I'll say on the activism thing, which leads me into exactly that, is that I think we in the vegan movement have to be incredibly careful that there's the politics involved at this kind of organizational level, and we can't let that. There's always going to be politics, right? Where there's groups of people, where there's money involved, where there's time involved, there's always going to be politics. There's going to be people that fall out with each other. There's going to be people that disagree with whatever somebody said and they want to do it a different way. What we can't do, and I implore anybody listening to this in the chat or on the replay, we can't let that politics take us away from the real issues. And the real issues are the animals that are suffering from a horrendous life and an equally horrendous death. So the other thing that I want to kind of, call you out on, if you will, not call you out, but chat to you about, is the anti-vegan stance that you've taken. That it's all very well saying that you've had to give up veganism, you've had to compromise your ethics for health reasons, and like Bev says, we collectively, the majority of people, are behind you on that. But it really jars, and it's incredibly disappointing when you start making kind of anti-vegan statements, that you go on to Primal Edge Health and you're kind of agreeing with Tristan, who is an arch anti-vegan. You're agreeing with him that all vegans are this, all vegans are that. You can have your beef, so to speak, with Joey, with the Save movement, with AV, with activism. But when it comes down to it, the reason for me why it's disappointing is that you basically throw vegans under the bus, because you tar all vegans with the same brush. So in response to what Bev said, so I'll read it again and I'll let you answer this time. What fuels your anti-vegan rhetoric, bollocks, and animal harm stance?
Well, firstly, I'm not about animal harm because I actually love animals, but you can actually love animals and have to eat them for your own health. You've got to compromise that, but you wouldn't understand that unless you're in the position that you've got to do that. Secondly, I would say that I'm not anti-vegan. I simply advocate doing what's best for you. And if people think they want to be vegan, that's fine, be vegan. But conversely, don't tell me and others that they shouldn't not be vegan.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm going to say next, maybe, that if you love animals, right, I get you. There are many people who will say that they love animals. That we in Britain, we're a nation of animal lovers. We're well known for it. And I'll give you the example of my own mother, right? She doesn't like me being vegan. She thinks that I'm going to be protein deficient. She won't listen to the fact that I feel healthier now. I've been vegan for 4.5 years. I feel healthier now. I'm at my healthiest now than I was 10 years ago by every stretch. You know, my asthma has completely gone because I clearly had a dairy allergy that I didn't know about, and I gave up dairy and that was it. It was gone. So I'm tons healthier. So I'm not a shining beacon of health by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I'm like middle-aged and, you know, but it's not about how you look, is it? It's about how you feel. So I feel great. And also I have that weight off my shoulders that I'm no longer participating in this cognitive dissonance, if you will, this jarring between I love animals, I've always loved animals, I love nature, I love all animals, and then consuming their body parts. I mean, I haven't eaten meat since I was 11, but I always drank milk, and you know, I knew I was just in denial. But my mum, she won't go vegan, she won't even go vegetarian. However, she won't and never has eaten duck or venison or rabbit because she says they're cute, right? My granddad, when granddad was alive, he used to bring home rabbits, like literally whole rabbits that somebody had caught, like poached, and then they just used to skin it, eat it, and have a rabbit pie. Now, my mum used to go absolutely mad. She used to be she was like, she just became militant about this. Why on earth are you doing this? Why are you bringing rabbits? Rabbits are lovely, rabbits are cute, and but then she'd have like a chicken sandwich. And do you see what I mean? That there's this inherent speciesism that people have and really hold on to, and everything that my mum stands for. She's incredibly compassionate. She loves animals, and she understands the arguments when we talk about eating rabbits or eating deer because they've got such cute eyes. So, well, there's nothing cuter than a cow's eyes. They're such that you can fall into a cow's eyes. They're so deep, you know. They just feel so deep. They just, I love like the big eyes that cows have. So I understand what you're saying, that you can love animals and you can have that cognitive dissonance, and you can sit with that dissonance, and you can be actually very comfortable with that dissonance. And I think, pardon me if I'm wrong, but I think that's where you are, that you've been able to make that, you've been able to disconnect between the love that you have for animals, the understanding that you have about the farming and the slaughter process, and you've been able to disconnect that. And I'm going to psychoanalyze you a little bit now, but am I right in thinking that your anti-vegan stance that you sometimes take is because you're putting that barrier up, that you're making sure that barrier stays there? What do you reckon to that?
No, because I've never really based my morals around actual about veganism and things like that. What my morals were based around was Christianity. It always has been, and I've always based it around the fall and things like that. And obviously we could get in a rabbit hole, but at the end of the day, that's where I've always based my morals, is being a Christian. And I understand that the bioavailability of animal foods and things like that are much, much better when you're obviously your gut microbiome's destroyed. Then you've got to kind of look at different things you can obviously try to incorporate. And I'm not saying that I believe you can even be vegetarian and probably be quite healthy, but do I believe that everybody can be vegan? No, I absolutely do not.
Okay. You actually do sound like my mum, because she's Christian and she will bring forth a Christian argument whenever she can.
Well, in Romans 14, it actually says those who are weak in the faith only eat vegetables, but others who follow eat anything. And it does tell you that I should not judge you. You should not judge me, because God accepts everybody. And that's kind of what I've always believed.
Well, I can throw a Bible quote at you then. Genesis. I can't remember what chapter it is, but it's somewhere in Genesis. God says that He has given you the seeds and the fruits of the earth, and they are your meat. I used to throw that at my mum.
But that's before the fall actually happened.
Okay.
Because Christianity teaches that human beings are unable to overcome the fall without actually loving God, basically.
Okay. So the fall of man, the fall of Adam and Eve was the reason why we eat meat.
Well, it is, yeah, technically, yeah, because God gave us that right to eat meat. So we've got sin in the world. Everybody's a sinner. That is the fact here.
For me, though, the kind of animals that we choose to eat as a society are learnt. That in some cultures it's acceptable to eat dogs. It's acceptable to put dogs in small cages and kill them en masse for a celebration. Now, I can't think of anybody, and you've got 6 dogs, I've got 4 dogs. I can't think of anything worse. Probably somebody like killing one of my children and eating it is probably going to be feeling worse. But I can't think of anything worse than somebody killing one of my dogs for a meal, because they like the taste of dog. So what's the difference between a dog and a pig? What is the difference between them? Or a dog and a cat? What is the difference? They're intelligent, highly sentient creatures. They're actually quite closely related, like genetically. The carnivora, the genus Carnivora, and then the ungulates, they're actually very closely related, and they are all incredibly intelligent. What is the difference between
the difference with that is a cow's chamber is able to break down things that dogs simply can't. Dogs are actually wolves, I would say. They came from the timber wolves somewhere around like 15,000 years ago, I believe. They've got an amylase.
Yeah.
They're not. So yeah, they're totally different animals. Like I say, at the end of the day, we've grew up around animals all our life, where they've been used in certain things to work alongside man. That's where we built the biggest kind of relationship with them. So yeah, obviously different cultures eat animals like dogs and things like that. Is it right? I can't speak for another culture. I personally wouldn't, but
and then you've got like, you would eat a pig, but there are cultures who
no, I wouldn't eat a pig.
You do not eat pigs.
No, simply because I follow. Even when I wasn't vegan, I never ate pigs, simply because they're considered unclean animals in the Bible. I've never been anywhere near that, and I believe they're intelligent. I think I wouldn't go sentient animals in that kind of respect. I think that's, for me. I'm not going to judge anybody else, but I wouldn't.
Okay. All right, Tommy. What do you eat on an average day? What animal products do you consume? Because I was under the impression that you were kind of eating meat and what do you eat? What animal products do you actually eat?
I get dairy from an ethical farm that keeps with their calves with their mothers and things like that. that's where I get my dairy. So I only like a small bit of dairy. Most of my milks are like oat milk and almond milk, but I take like a little bit of dairy. Usually each day I have like 2 eggs, which I get from a farm that's free range and things like that. The animals are really looked after in that, which I'm quite happy about. And I get fish from this local fishmonger that comes. He gets some well caught and things like that. So that's really it. Sometimes maybe once or twice a week I'll have like chicken, but I've kind of ruled that out. I'm mostly surviving in things like fish and eggs and a little bit of dairy. And the rest of my diet's made up with things that I can obviously absorb, like certain fruit and vegetables, because when I start to add in like plant foods, that's when things go straight all the way back.
Okay, so fish, eggs, and a little bit of milk. Well, you see, the thing is that although it feels better to say that you're getting your eggs from a place where you could actually go and see the chickens and you know that they're well cared for and so on. I've got a colleague who keeps chickens. She rescues chickens. So she got loads of them. They're ex-battery hens and whatever, and she got some disabled ones. Now, she was giving eggs away because these hens were producing so many eggs. And they do eat some, they do eat some of the shells to reabsorb the nutrients, but they were producing way more than they could possibly eat. So she was taking them to work and giving them out, right? Because she said she would rather give these eggs away from her hens because she couldn't eat them all and the hens couldn't eat them all. She would rather people have them than them go to waste. And if it meant that people weren't buying them from the supermarket from factory farmed hens, then all the better. But there's a caveat to all of this, that even though it's more ethical, it is more ethical. It's kinder to take the eggs from a hen that's well looked after versus one that has had a life in a cage and has never seen the world. That's fine. However, you've got to think about the whole process, that even those hens that are well looked after, there's a whole industry behind them that you don't see all of the cockerels. You don't see any of the male chicks, do you? Because they're minced at day one. They are. It's just part of the process of breeding chickens. The vast majority,
and even factory farming, yeah.
But even those establishments, like my friend who is rescuing chickens, there is a whole industry behind that process. That if you advocate for barnyard hens, and even if you've got hens yourself, there is still an industry behind it. There's still death within that industry. And also the other thing that I'm acutely aware of, having spoken to my colleague, and she sends me pictures of these hens like on a regular basis. She's always showing me pictures of these hens. They are laying so many eggs because they've been bred to do so. It's only in the last 100 years or so that we've completely, as a human race, we've completely revolutionized the hen. A hen naturally, in its natural state as a wild fowl, would only produce maybe 12 eggs a year. Now, the genetic modification that's gone on through selective breeding has produced hens that produce multiple eggs a day, and that's massively detrimental to their insides. And there are many, if not most now, of the hens that my friend has, they've had to have implants, like contraceptive implants, to stop them producing eggs because they were getting to the point where it was going to kill them. They got to a certain point. So I think of all of those things when I think about barnyard hens or ethically farmed hens. I think about that. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. I'm not saying anybody shouldn't eat anything, right? I'm saying that from a vegan standpoint, that's the argument I will take, that there's always that background that you've got to think about, And I say this as a somewhat of a hypocrite, because I've taken some of those eggs that my friend was giving out and given them to my son because he eats eggs. Not very often, but he eats eggs. I wouldn't eat them. I could not, like, just the fact that I had them in my bag. I didn't like it, knowing the fact that these hens were, you know, one after another having to have implants. But the alternative before they got implants, the alternative was to waste them. So using them rather than wasting them. So do you see where I'm going with this argumentation?
That's why I've always said that don't support factory farming. And the farm I go to and I see the chickens and things like that. I've been round it. I know exactly how they're processed, how everything's done. You can't get any better than that. Obviously, life is death. There's no way around it. You can't escape that. We're not going to escape death. I think that's where I see veganism is the kind of they're trying to transcend this death cycle type thing, but you just can't. There's no way around it. That's what I've kind of noticed.
Well, we are all going to die. You know, that is a fact of life.
Suffering is life.
I would rather, you know, die of my own accord, of, you know, at a ripe old age, when I've had a good innings and I die peacefully, rather than just be, you know, taken one day and my throat be slit, or I just get shoved into a gas chamber. I'd rather have the control over my life right to the end. And the animals, even if they've been ethically raised, eventually, right, they are killed. There might be some lucky hens like those that my friend has, who, you know, she's keeping them for life. They're not producing eggs now. They're all implanted. I think most of them are implanted now. She's got one that has one leg and God knows what. But the point I'm making is that even if the hens that you're getting your eggs from are well looked after, the industry that goes behind it is horrendous. So it's still not ethical to eat eggs. It's still, for me, important to make that point to anybody who says that barnyard hens are better than factory hens. They are, but at the same time, there's that massive caveat that I have to kind of, you know, put out there on this stream. Super chat. MS Chunk 83. You're new. Miss Chunk. It's Miss Chunk, isn't it? Miss Chunk 83 donates $4.99. Thank you very much. And she says, my vet says my rescue hens got ovarian cancer because of being bred to produce so many eggs. It was heartbreaking, even free range. So, yeah, what we've done as a species is we've basically made the hen, the chicken, we've made them into an egg-laying machine that is so bad for their health. And I would say the same about many breeds of dog. And I know you're a dog lover. You've got more dogs than I have. I would have more dogs, but my son won't let me have any more. 4's my limit. Until he moves out, he might not be moving out for another year or 2 years even yet. So
I would say, when we're talking about dogs, I would say that a vegan diet's animal abuse. That is my exact opinion, because if vegans look at dogs as being companion animals, why can you force them to do what you want? Obviously, there's got to be some give and take. You just can't let animals like roam about and things like that. But a vegan diet for dogs, I believe, is abuse, unless the animal has digestive issues that it can't obviously absorb meat and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point to make, that my dogs are plant-based. They're not because of my ethical choice. I've got to say that I've got 3 old dogs who were fed on just the standard diet, like, you know, Tesco's brand dog food. And then about 5-6 years ago, Poppy, my Jack Russell, started to get like a rash, and it was like her entire belly was just inflamed. And the vet said it was either gluten or dairy. Now, I could have spent a lot of money getting a genetic an allergy test, and I said no, I'll just cut a gluten and dairy, you know. And I looked at the ingredients of the dog food, and yep, it's got wheat, it's got dairy in it. So I changed her food to a fish-based one, right? So this was before I went vegan. This was 6 years ago. I've been vegan for 4 years. And she did great. Anyway, Tilly came along, my big dog, Tilly, and I was feeding her what her previous occupant of it, where she lived, was feeding her. And she just had diarrhea. She was healthy. She was running around, but she just had really loose poo. And I apologize to everybody who's eating at the time. Really loose poo. And I thought, I wonder whether it's something to do with the meat protein. It just clicked with me. So I got VDog, and that's plant-based. And I moved them all over to VDog or Yarra, both plant-based dog foods, and they've done brilliantly, all of them. Like Poppy's allergy hasn't come back. Jack and Bella they're all active. Like 2 of them are 14, 1 of them's 13, and Tilly's 4. They're fantastic dogs. So because I'm using a commercial dog food that has all of its nutrients, balanced, they're doing massively well. So in the description box of my videos, I have a link. I don't make any money off it, but I have a link to VDog and Yarra, because I can say my dogs are doing really well on them. Now, other dogs might not. Other dogs might need a different food. They might just have, whatever. Like humans have different needs. So I don't think we can point blank say dogs cannot live on a plant-based diet, because they can. My dogs can. And if you're using a proper dog food, then of course they can. I don't agree. I've got to say, I don't agree with people trying to make their own foods for their dogs. I don't agree with that, because they can so easily get the nutrient balance wrong, and that becomes problematic. Michelle, can we hear more from Tommy, please? You've done 80% of the talking. I know I talk forever. Let's move on. The other thing I want to chat to you about is the second time that you went on Primal Edge Health, and you said that you'd been having some issues like stalking and death threats and God knows what. Do you want to talk any more about that? Is there anything you can say, Lily?
My friend Loss at October Rain Rocks, she's actually seen the chat and things of what actually happened. It's a Scottish person, I will say that, because they've got a Scottish Glasgow accent. You can tell the way they're typing. It's definitely not the person we thought it was, because like I said earlier, he's got a very descriptive way of texting. You kind of know his language and things like that. It's definitely not him. Basically what it was, they were threatening to slash my throat and things like that. So I actually sent it to Ayrshire Police, who are dealing with it. They've been kind of updating me and things. They're trying to get the person's IP address and things like that, because they think they've been using it elsewhere at a library or whatever, or a cafe or whatever. They don't exactly know, but that's what they've been doing it. And then people were contacting the charity that I worked with, obviously saying that I wasn't a trustworthy person and things like that. And they were getting flooded with emails. So basically what happened from there was they asked me to take a step back into the ambassador role that I'm doing at the moment, because it just wasn't a good thing to obviously be. I kind of think, I know how they did it, because at the end of the day, they don't want the charity getting hand and things like that. They knew that the allegations were fake, but at the same time, they've got to kind of make things respectable for all parties as well.
Yeah. I mean, that is atrocious. Because I've had people threaten to, not quite dox me, but whatever. And it's not a nice thing when somebody does that. But please don't think that this is representative of vegans. And anybody listening, don't think this is representative of vegans. This is
there's bad people in all walks of life.
Yeah, definitely. And I hope that the police sort it out. I mean, that they actually, death threats though. I mean, it's appalling. And threatening your wife as well, I believe.
Threatening my wife. I'll not go into the exact words that they used because we're on a live stream, but it was a threat of rape, basically.
Wow, that's awful.
With a poker, basically.
Oh my God. What, because you're no longer vegan? Is that the reason why that they're doing it? Or is...
Yeah, I'm guessing that's what it is. Like it was correlated at the same time, so it's a coincidence that they would both come at the same time. So obviously that's the reason. But it's clearly somebody that knows me. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. I mean, the police, the way that the police work behind the scenes, they're very, very good. You know, if they've got a mind to it, they will do. But I don't know about you, but sometimes I think the police, maybe they don't take things as seriously as they should do. But hopefully they'll deal with it and they'll catch.
I've got an idea who it is, but I'm not going to mention it. But I do kind of guess who it is.
Yeah, I mean, I would have put quite a considerable amount of money on the person that probably everybody in the chat thinks it might be. They're actually banned from this channel, so we can't comment even if they're watching. But
I knew it definitely wouldn't be him because I've threatened him enough times to stop getting near like females and things like that. So he's not going to come near me.
maybe he's got friends who maybe can put a text better or an email better than he did.
He definitely hasn't. He always says he's got this group of people, but he lives in his own. He's got a carer that comes into the house to look after him and things like that, and because he's been in prison and things, so he's just a bullshitter.
Yeah. Well, I really hope that you get that sorted, and has it stopped now though? Has it all died down?
At the moment,
Good. I guess if they know it's in police hands, then they will stop. Anyway, Tommy, it's nearly 6 o'clock, so if you need to be kind of getting going, that's perfectly fine. I can hang
on for a little bit longer if.
All right. Okay. Well, let's have a look at the chat because I've just been ignoring the chat. Jimmy Baker says, I can put some of these on screen if I go to the other chat, maybe. So is it Cartman? Cartman is Bart K. That's the term that we call Bart K. I don't think it would be Bart K. I don't know whether you say that you know it's somebody who's probably Scottish by the way they write. So
it's definitely no Bart I talked about.
Oh, nice one. Anti-vegan nonsense says one of my dogs eats frogs and toads and small rodents. He's a dog. My other doesn't eat anything, but what anything? Yeah, my dogs would literally eat anything. I don't think they'd be very good at catching anything though. But definitely, if they come across something, they'll eat it. They are dogs. They're not vegan. I mean, that's the thing when we say vegan dogs, and I do it myself. I say my dog's vegan. They're not. They're not vegan. They're eating a plant-based diet, but they're not vegan. So. Okay, this is a good one from Race Lever. So this is relating to your stalker, for want of a better word. What makes you think it's a real vegan? We have imposters that try to make us look bad. So yeah, that's a good point. It could be somebody who is trying to make you believe that vegans are bad and are doing it. Do you reckon?
Well, we'll just need to wait and see.
But you've got a lot of sympathy here in the chat for that. So that's good. We're not bad people. It drives me.
Never thought that.
No. But the thing is though, and the last thing I'll say, and then I'll let you go, is that I don't like this anti-vegan movement. I really don't like it because there's so much bad feeling. You'll know yourself as a vegan that there's so many bad stereotypes about vegans that just aren't true, you know, like where'd you get your protein and all that nonsense, right? That I think if you decide no longer to be vegan, that's your choice. But when you are making anti-vegan statements that play into that stereotype, I think it does everybody a disservice. It does ex-vegans a disservice, it does vegans a disservice, it does everybody a disservice. And I think I'm going to carry on calling out anti-vegans and calling out these carnivore bullshitters, because, you know, they're putting forward, and you'll probably disagree with this, but I think their agenda is way more dangerous than the even the most militant vegan. What do you reckon?
No, because the way I look at it as well, there's even the vegan doctors are fighting each other at the moment about heart disease, and even Gareth Davis is talking about that he recommends his patients eat fish for omega-3s because he says that the chia and flax seeds are only like 10% conversion rate and things like that. So that there's a lot of things that need to be looked at, and I think we don't actually know enough at the moment to say one way or the other. But like I say, I believe there's no one diet fits all. You know what I mean? I think everybody's different, and it's just doing what's best for you. That's what I've always said.
I mean, there are genetic differences that some people can't convert the ALA into DHA and EPA very well. But there are algae-based supplements or algae-based DHA supplements that
I was actually taking them as a vegan, and they never made a bit of difference. It wasn't until I started to add fish in that the brain issues and everything just went away within like 3 months.
Okay.
And that's what I would say. Going about my eating disorder and things like that, I probably never really discussed this, but a lot of people have said things like you were never eating enough calories. Well, my wife knows all about this, and the fact was I actually had an eating disorder support team, and I was getting like meal support at one point. So they were coming to my house like for certain meals each day and sitting with me for like 2 hours after it. And that was all on my own accord, because I actually asked for that because I wanted to recover. And I was getting like a dietitian that was giving me like 3,000 calories a day. Everything was monitored out. I was eating exactly what I should have ate. So all the nonsense about like making myself sick and things like that. God, I wasn't doing that for like, the last time I done that was like 1999.
What were you eating, just out of interest? What, you know, those kind of final weeks when you were having real problems, you eat calories, but what were you actually eating?
The final weeks I was trying to eat things that were kind of easily digestible. I was eating things like a lot of rice with avocado. I was adding in vegan butters. I was having like sandwiches with peanut butter. I was trying to have like the vegetables and fruits that I could manage. Like I was going to things like carrots and broccoli, apples and bananas. Basically try to get as much as I could, but even the things like chia seeds and flax seeds and everything that I used to add in smoothies and things like that, I just couldn't digest them. They were causing like the constant pain in my left side and things like that. So I was trying to find a balance of food that was digestible and that I could manage.
I wonder whether, and this is just, I'm just kind of throwing it out there, and I'm not a nutritional expert, I'm not a medical doctor, but when someone's had an eating disorder and is restricted so much, you might know this, that the enzymes that you need to produce, your body needs to produce to be able to digest the food, they get kind of out of whack. You're not producing those enzymes in the right amount. So when you increase your calories, then that food, it doesn't matter what that food is, it can't be digested because you don't have enough of those enzymes. I know I've spoken to quite a few people who've either had anorexia or bulimia and who've said the same, that when they've been in recovery, their digestion has been terrible because they kind of have to go through
at the start, at the very start of recovery. That does happen, because I had that maybe like I would say probably in 2014, 2015, that's when I had that kind of problem and things like that. Then it got a lot better, and I had laparoscopies and things like that. I'd done a lot of tests, especially when I was having these problems as a vegan. I went and got a laparoscopy done, which a lot of people have asked about the scar in my stomach. That's exactly what it was. I got a laparoscopy, I got a colonoscopy. They done all the kind of things to check what was going on with my bowel and things like that, and it turned back, it was actually fine, because I done that after I went to Goji Man, because when I got the test done with Goji Man for the SIBO test, and then it came back as negative, he actually reached out to one of my friends. There was a kind of miscommunication type thing, and he said that my eating disorder team and everybody else was in the best place to get me back to an even keel, and that's what I did do. Like, I followed his advice. So and he did the best. He did the best he could.
Yeah, I do remember that, and that's another reason why I was completely in support of you. I was completely behind you. That I know you'd done all of those things, in an attempt to get your health back on track. And I know I kind of said, I don't know whether I said it in a video or I said it out in a comment somewhere, that you were maybe saying that you were in recovery and you weren't really, and you were really restricting and things like that. And because it's I guess, without knowing the facts, it's the obvious thing to say. It's the obvious thing to throw at somebody who's got an eating disorder, and that's not the right thing to say. And I'll apologize for saying that. I can't remember where I said it, but I will apologize for saying that. Tommy, I'm really, really pleased that we're able to kind of have this kind of conversation. And I've just been keeping an eye on the chat, and things have been, I think, pretty polite. That I would like to really, I'm not going to say so much like building bridges. That sounds a bit contrived, but I would always say that I would keep the door open for somebody who's left the vegan movement, but who understands the ethics, and has left the vegan movement for health reasons or for whatever reason, that door is always open. And there are people within the vegan movement who are incredibly genuine people. We're not like the anti-vegans say. We're not anti-human. We're not.
I've got great friends that are vegan. I've got my friend Alan, who I used to do the animal liberation truck. He's one of my best friends. Loss, vegan. Like, there's I say, there's great people and there's bad people in all walks of life. No matter what movement you're in. That's just the fact.
Yeah. I mean, Laws has been on this channel. You've probably seen the interview that I did with her.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Because her son is autistic and he can't be vegan because of his like the way that he, like, his relationship with food and so on. So I get that. I understand that. I've got 2 grown-up children who are vegan, and I've got 1 adolescent who's nearly 18 who isn't vegan, but he says all he eats is chicken. He'll only eat chicken now, and eggs. He's given everything else up. So therefore he's doing his bit, which I don't agree, but there you go. That's the kind of thing I hear. So I understand. I do understand, and I think we do have to keep the door open and let's end it here. But if you want to ever come on the channel again and have a chat, maybe when I don't know, maybe I'd like to know more about what happens if the police come on.
Definitely, I'd be willing to come back on again. Definitely.
Yeah. Or I can go on your channel. It doesn't matter which.
Absolutely.
But yeah, thanks so much for coming on. And if you can disappear, we'll say goodbye. I'm just going to stay on for like another 10 minutes just to answer some questions.
Right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. See you. Bye. Hey guys. So I thought that was a really nice chat. The chat seemed to be pretty polite. Got a lot of mods in, so thanks for coming on, Tommy. Don't know whether Tommy's still listening. Tommy, don't go vegan. Fantastic show. The chat's moving too fast. Even with these glasses on, I can actually see the chat wearing these glasses. But yeah. So throw some questions at me. I'm only going to stay on for like maximum 10 minutes because I've been busy today. Let me tell you what I've been doing. I've been at my daughter's house. We're sorting out a garden. Going to make I've made a couple of videos, or rather Mia has made a couple of videos that are on Miss Tillington's channel. Go over and subscribe to Miss Tillington if you don't know that Tilly's got a channel. I post my dog stuff on there, I'll put a banner on it. Go and check out Miss Tillington. And also I've got a second channel. So what I do on Michelle Remixed is I put kind of just little bits and pieces. So I might take like a good moment from this live stream and just put it on as its own standalone video. So have a look at those. Go and give me a sub. Anyway, you can put the chat on slow mode. I probably can. It's slowed down quite a bit now, so it was just like that. You know, that I think everyone was just saying goodbye to Tommy. Bev, YouTube has been blocking me. Has it? Has it really? Your comments have been coming through. Like you've given me like 3 super chats now, Bev. So thank you so much, but do not spend any more money on me. But thank you so much. So Christina says, large companies are the problem with chickens, not the backyard homestead. As I said, I find that, you know, I think that the argument with ethical livestock raising isn't in those individual animals. It's about the bigger picture, that it's the animals themselves that have been raised to be egg-laying machines. And it's not the keeper of those hens' fault that has happened, but it means that those hens become very healthy at a very unhealthy, at a very young age. I'd say the same about certain dog breeds. I'd say exactly the same. It's not a thing about hens. It's about the way that humans have made monsters out of some breeds of animal. You know, like pugs, for example, you know, those with the really short noses. They're incredibly cute and lovely dogs, but they can't breathe and they die young. Like bulldogs are another big, you know, a breed that doesn't make it to old age. Great Danes, you know, the big, huge Great Danes, beautiful, magnificent animals, but they die young because their heart can't, you know, it can't carry on pumping blood. Mastiffs die young. So it's humanity. It makes me feel dirty that humans have done this to certain animals just for what? For their own, for dogs. It's just like to, you know, to show them as like a perfect breed. It's horrible. Horses as well, Christina says. What's your comment there? The American quarter horse can't raise their head anymore. I mean, good Lord. It's just awful. And I know that's right, unnatural breeding. Oh, sorry, wrong one. I wanted veg codbot. Yeah, it is. It's unnatural breeding. It's the breeding. They're inbreeding. The breeding in certain characteristics without thinking about the health of the animal, and that has happened commercially with chickens, but it's also happened in dogs, horses. I didn't know about horses, but you know, other breeds, cats even. You've got like the Sphinx cat, you know, the hairless cat. I'm not open this curtain because it's gone right now. Yeah, the hairless cat, the Sphinx cats, and they've been bred. Obviously, it must have been some kind of genetic mutation originally, and then that's been bred into a certain breed of cat because they've been commercially like sold as hypoallergenic cats because they don't have hair. So people who are allergic to cats can have a hairless cat. And, you know, they really, really struggle with keeping warm. So it's horrible. It's horrible. Thank you, October Rain Rocks. Amicable chats are the way forward. So thank you to both of you. Yeah, it is. And it's about addressing the issues that are necessary to address, but keep that door open, keep that line of communication open. There's no reason why we have to be on these very strict sides and allow the carnivores to take advantage of that. And that's what, you know, people like Tristan do. They take advantage. And Tristan's possibly watching this, I don't know, or he probably watch it later. But, you know, people like Tristan, Drew Morgan was another one who was really good at this. You know, just finding those weaknesses and taking advantage of it. Gaslighting. Tristan, you're a gaslighter. I know that really winds you up, doesn't it, when I call you a gaslighter? Well, you are. You're a gaslighter. I had an ex that used to be a gaslighter. I can see it a mile off. A mile off. Okay. What's this? I think that's a conversation that's just ongoing. Any questions? I'm gonna log off in a minute. I want some tea. I've been busy. I was telling you, wasn't I? Yeah, my daughter's garden. We've been like doing this garden. We've had new fences. She's actually taking over a business. I told my patrons a few weeks ago that she's been working for somebody for quite a few years now, doing dog walking, doggy daycare and dog boarding. And the person whose business it is, and also like dealing with rescue and stuff like that, fostering and stuff like that. So the person whose business it is moving. She's moving to Scotland and starting a new business up there. So we are buying that business. Me and my daughter are buying that business. So we are going into the doggy business. I've always wanted to work with dogs. I'll be keeping my job, right? Because I don't think the business is going to kind of support both of us, like initially. So she'll be running it, and I might do a few hours. And my son upstairs is going to do some hours because he needs petrol money for his new car. He's driving about here, there, and everywhere now, so he needs petrol money. So yeah, we're going to have a business. It was actually meant to be all finalised tomorrow, but there's been a kind of a delay with one of the properties that, you know, it's like a big chain of properties that whatever. So it's going to be another couple of weeks. So we've got to get that garden sorted because there's a council inspection on Wednesday. So we've got to get the council license to house dogs, like boarding dogs and foster dogs. It's all to do with boarding. So it's going to be proper good. It is going to be proper good. So hopefully we don't go into complete lockdown, because that'll be so annoying, right? Because we've got to keep this business running. That's a good question. Pippa is doing really well. So if you go over to Miss Tillington's channel, Mia actually did a video, and I kind of did a bit at the end when Mia got bored, with Pippa on it, and I put a community post on saying go over to Miss Tillington's channel. Pippa's on, because for those of you who don't know, Pippa last year, about this time last year, she was diagnosed with cancer. Pippa's a Springer Spaniel, by the way, 10-year-old Springer Spaniel. So she was diagnosed with cancer. She got a nasal tumour. She's also got a tumour on her liver. They said she'd be very lucky to see 2020. Well, she saw 2020 and she's going strong. You can see her running around. She's still got a tumour, but she's on medication and it's keeping everything under control. So although she's still ill, she's got way more energy than she had a year ago, and the tumours haven't grown. And actually, it's some of like the inflammation that was making the tumour bigger than it looked bigger than it actually was, has gone down. So she's doing really, really well. So that's it's good. It's good. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna call it a day. Oh, somebody says the vegan diet is crazy. What do we say to that? There's no such thing as a vegan diet. Let's say that. No such thing as a vegan diet. Definitely not. There you go. Right, so I am going to be streaming again tomorrow evening, my time, 7 p.m. I am going to be responding to Humane Hancock. So Humane Hancock has got a new video. I think it's been out now for maybe a week or so about wild animal suffering. I've responded to Humane Hancock a number of times. I've left messages to him saying, come and chat to me about it. Let's have a discussion live about it. And he's never responded to me. So I'm going to be reacting live to Humane Hancock's latest video on wild animal suffering tomorrow. There's some really interesting points. And he's much more nuanced now. He's got a much more convincing level of argumentation now. He's obviously put a lot of thought into it. So I'm going to discuss it. So I'm not going to say any more than that. But there's some points I could go with, some points I definitely don't agree with. So that should be a really good stream. So 7 p.m. my time. And anti-vegan nonsense. I just subscribed to your channel, by the way. I've been so busy. I've only had a chance to, I think, probably watch one video. But you've got a new sub. You've got me as a sub now. So go and subscribe to Anti-Vegan Nonsense, everybody. So looking forward to it. Watched. I was thinking, what's hatched? I haven't watched it because you're going to be triggered. He's nutter. It's much more nuanced argumentation now. So I'd recommend you watch it. But if you join the stream tomorrow, I am going to go through most of the video. So it's like half an hour long. So I'm probably not going to go through every single point because we'd be here like 5 years. That like the way I just talk, we'd be here 5 years. So no. Anyway, we put animals and eat them. We are the predators. No, you're not a predator. You're just a big bully. And on that note, guys, thank you so much for keeping the chat sensible, keeping the chat polite. Thank you to the moderators. Thank you for the super chats. I've gone very, very dark. So I'll say good night. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.